Hey there folks. So in this video I'm going to talk you through using the Arnold renderer to render out your scenes for your comics. And you can see here this is an example of a scene that I've rendered out with the Arnold renderer, and generally it does look much more kind of, I don't know, pretty than the standard scanline renderer. You tend to get much nicer kind of softer shadows and you get bounce light and so on. But it is quite a bit slower than the typical scanline renderer. So that's the downside of using the Arnold renderer. So to start this off, we're going to first of all try and find out the resolution that we want to render out each panel. So I'm going to do this inside Photoshop, but you don't have to use Photoshop if you're more comfortable with another 2D package. That's absolutely fine. So the place you might start off with is loading up your sketch, your initial sketch you did for your comic. I haven't got one, but I'm just going to use this as a kind of example. And the first thing we want to do is we want to check that it is actually the right size. So the resolution we want to render this out at, or submit your comic at, is it's got to be A4 and it's got to be 300 pixels per inch. So if I come up here to the image size and I click on that, then you can see it's 21 centimeters by 29.7, and it's 300 pixels per inch, and that is A4 size, and that's the correct resolution there. So if yours is not that, you could change it here. Another thing you could do though, if I click on cancel, is you could make a new document. So let's go to File, New, and then we'll go to Print. And here we've got A4 over here. Let's click on A4. And again, these settings are all correct. I'm going to click on Create. And then what I'll do is I'll just drag this off so it's in its own little window. And I'll do the same for this one for my sketch. And then if you're in the Move tool, you can then drag your sketch over onto the newly created panel. And then if it's not the correct size, you can resize it basically. So if I go over to Edit and Free Transform, and let's just make this a little bit bigger, you can then rescale your sketch to be the correct size. If you find that when you originally created it, you didn't create it with the correct aspect ratio, like it's a bit too thin, perhaps. If it's something like this, then if you hold down the Shift key when you're scaling this, you can actually, it will let you do what's called a non-uniform scale. But just be aware that will actually kind of distort the panels. Because it's a sketch, it probably won't matter too much though. Okay, so once I've got that set up, let's just hide this one. I want to know what actual resolution each panel is basically. So what I'm going to do that is I'm going to go over to the box tool over here, and I'm basically just going to draw a box over one of the panels. So this is if you number these like 1, 2, 3, 4, my fourth panel. So this is the one I'm going to kind of use as an example. But let's create this. We can rescale it if we want it to get it the right size. And what you'll see up here, where the width and the height is, it'll actually tell you the number of pixels for this panel, this box basically. So let's just get it make sure it is the right size. There we go. And then what we can do is we can basically copy these values down. So let's get a notepad. I'm just going to find my notepad. It's there, but you can just type in notepad and bring it up, or obviously a piece of paper if you've got one. And then we'll type in these values. So it's 2,401 pixels wide, and it is 1,103 pixels high. 1,103 pixels high. So there we go. And you can do that for all of your panels. So I'll just type in panel 4 here. Great. So once you've done that, let's now head over to 3ds Max. So what I'd like you to do today for this video is basically just to go through the example scene that I've created. So you can download that from the My UCA page. So if we go here, you can download it here. So I want you to try it out with this, try the lighting out, make sure you're comfortable with it, and then go ahead and do it on your own scenes after you've tried it out with this one. So once you've downloaded it, you'll need to go in and extract it, right click, extract all, and then you can go into the scenes folder and drag over the scene file into the 3ds Max and click on Open File. So yeah, here's our scene. what we're going to do first of all is you'll notice in the Scene Explorer, it's all quite messy here. I haven't kind of grouped any of the objects. So what I'm going to do first of all is just basically select all these and kind of group them together. Now you can use the 3ds Max groups, but I find them sometimes a bit tricky to use. So what I prefer to do is to simply create an object and then drag everything under that object. And the object I'm going to use is called a point object. So if you come over to the Create panel here, and then we go to the helper objects here, this little kind of protractor thing. Then you click on point. Here we are. And then you can basically click anywhere in the scene to create it. Then use the right mouse button, click the right mouse button so you don't add any more. And then with the point thing still selected, you'll see it's this little kind of cross thing here. It's probably going to be easier if we actually move this to the very middle of our scene. So I'm going to go to the Move tool, and then down here at the bottom, just make sure that you are in either View or World mode up here. And then at the bottom, if we right click on these little arrows here, that will zero those out. So I'll right click on them, and that means the point is now at the middle of, right in the middle of my scene. And then here, what I need to do is basically select, there's my point. I'm going to select everything else and drag it into there. So let's select all these things, scroll down again, and then I'm going to hold the left mouse button and drag it over to the point and let go. And then scroll up to the top. So now everything is inside this thing, and I can then just minimize it by clicking on this arrow here. So it makes my whole scene nice and much tidier. There are 2 objects which didn't get dragged in. So this thing here, let's drag that in and close it again. And then this water object, let's drag that in. There we go, and close it. There we are. And now we've got just the bots of their own one, so that's fine. And this means everything's nice and tidy. Let's rename that. So I'll call that environment. There we go. Great, so this is now ready to add a camera. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's come over to the Create panel, go to the Camera tool, and I'm going to use a target camera. So that's a camera that's always looking at an object in the scene, a target object. So let's click on that. And I'm going to create it from the top view, and I'm going to drag where I want the camera to be. So I'll click here, and then I'm going to drag out where I want the kind of the target to be. So I'll pop the target over here, and I'm going to right click so I don't create any more. And then I'm going to change this view down here to be my camera view. So that's what the camera's looking at the moment. Obviously we want to adjust that. So let's move the camera up like this. There we go. I'm going to bring it back down again a bit, something like this. And then I'm going to select the target object. Now the water's kind of in the way, so you might find you need to come over here to the Explorer here to select it, and then we can lift that up a little bit. There we go. Now, as I said before previously, we want to make sure we actually see where the edge of the frame is here. So to do that, we need to click, set it back to camera, sorry. Let's click on here and go to turn on show safe frame. And that means that we know exactly now what's actually going to be rendered and what's not. Now the next thing we want to do is, because at the moment this is just set to the standard kind of resolution, we want to change it to be the resolution that we got from our panel. So if you remember, the resolution we got was this value here, these 2 values here for the width and the height. And the place we change that is over in the render settings here. So let's click on the little teapot with a cog and bring these up. And if you see here, this is our width and height here. So if you try and change this one, what you'll find is that at the moment those 2 are locked together. And so if we don't want them to be locked together, we need to click on where it says HDTV or whatever yours says and set it to custom. So we click on custom, and now we can type in any value here. So let's copy and paste this in, 2401. Copy and paste that in. And then let's paste this value in here as well. Great stuff.